We're at the Canton Area Heritage Center on South Main in Canton, and you heard people talk about dairies in Canton having such a history, and if you've been to the Heritage Center here, you've probably seen the dairy display, and Jim Morgan is the one behind that. And dairies were a big thing in Canton many decades ago, and not just one dairy, but very many of them were prominent and all had their role that they processed and packaged milk. What we haven't heard about, though, is the delivery system for the milk. Anybody, I guess we could say with age on them, might remember the times when milk was delivered door to door. That's what this guy did. Many of you know Ben Bishop of Canton, and his family was involved in the milk delivery business for many, many years. In fact, in a little bit, we're going to see a picture of Ben and his brother Dave, along with their dad, in front of the milk delivery truck. But milk delivery was a thing that was... that's a piece of Americana, I guess, that we don't have anymore.
Absolutely, Kevin. You know, I started... Me and my brother started delivering milk when we were 8 years old. And my dad, and I've got a picture here of my dad. I would say this might have been his first year delivering milk for Sin Sodweedle, the dairy here in Canton. And when we reached the age of 8, we had a full-time job. Fact is, I remember getting a paycheck from Sin Sodweedle, and the check was $4.80. We got $1 a day to deliver milk in Cuba, Illinois, basically. But then let's see, I was trying to think. Yeah, it was $4.80, and the 20 cents was for Social Security. So we were, and I don't know of anybody else, 8 years of age, that paid Social Security.
You're a history maker.
We were history makers. But, yeah, we had an opportunity. My dad delivered milk, and there were guys, I don't know, I'd say probably 15 or 20 guys that were like high school age that would get up at 4:30 in the morning, deliver milk, and be at school by 8 o'clock in the morning. Well, as I said earlier, Brother Dave and I, we would be up at 4:30, and Mom would have breakfast ready, and I would wash the sleep out of my eyes. I was still sleepy, and we would get up and go deliver. We had probably 300 retail customers in Cuba, and we delivered 6 days a week.
And everybody was on a schedule where you didn't deliver all 300 every day.
No. Fact is, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday were our busiest days. We put in a lot of time, especially on our milk routes. I worked. Brother Dave got a job teaching over in Scioto High School, and I worked another half year after that with my dad. But my last year working and delivering milk, I was a senior at Western Illinois University. Dave, well, let's go to this panel truck, and then I'll pick it back up. This truck is a good example of the big truck that we used most of the time. Brother Dave was left-handed, so he got the left-hand side of the truck, and I got the right-hand side. And Dave, up until the time he passed away, he still gave me a hard time the week he was so bad about I had the right-hand side of the truck. That's where the heater was. And we'd be out delivering milk every month. So in the wintertime, I stayed warm. Dave froze to death. Just little things like that. As I stated earlier, we hit about 300 plus milk customers. I could go out right now today, take you and Joe or anybody I wanted to do, and I could drive you through that milk route, probably blindfolded. You just got to that point. One day I took my wife down to Cuba, and I said, hang on, I'm going to show you something. So we started driving around. She said, what are you doing? I said, I'm trying to remember the old milk route. And some places I could remember that, they took 2 quarts of homo. Homo was homogenized milk. Or they took a gallon of 2%. And it was just that way, you just ingrained.
Did most every house take milk then, or were there any houses you didn't stop at? My guess is it was most of them.
I'd say probably, I'd want to say 90%. 90% probably would catch the number of people that we would deliver milk to. And like I say, you would... You'd be up there early in the morning, and I think by 7 o'clock I finally get awake. You just did it automatically, you knew that somebody had took this or somebody took that, whatever it was. When we started delivering, the bottles that are on display here was the type of thing we'd carry. Now you'd stop and think, oh my gosh, you're delivering glass. Well, you got to the point where it didn't bother. You didn't even think about falling down, breaking a glass bottle and get cut or whatever. Only happened one time that I ever know it happened, and I wasn't there. Brother Dave, I went to Boise State when I was a junior or senior in high school, and I was down there and I got a phone call from my mom. She says, this morning, your brother, and he was carrying down here somewhere, they got a picture, they got a gallon jug, had a wire handle on it, and he was carrying a gallon jug in each hand, and he slipped and fell, cut his wrist open. I mean, he severed, whatever vein that is in your hand, the back?
A big one.
A big one, yeah. He's bleeding like a stock hog. That's the old Cuba saying. Dad was driving that old milk truck like there. It was a stick shift, and he put it in low gear, took his belt off, made a tourniquet, drove to J.K. Welch's house. He was a milk customer. Got J.K. up, sewed brother back up, and he finished the milk route himself. That's the only accident we ever had on there. You got pretty good at bailing out of a truck with 2 gallons of milk in your hand in a glass jug.
And even when there was ice in the way.
Oh, ice, no, you didn't care. We're like the mailman. The mailman.
Nothing stops.
Yeah. Ice, blood, snow, whatever. We were there. We delivered, like I said, every day. We started out with the glass bottles. Later on, there's a paper, waxed paper type box and stuff. That was a little different. You didn't worry about it then at all. You didn't worry about glass breakage or stuff like that. As a deliverer, you felt pretty good to get that big change. One of the things that I remember very well, the biggest problem I ever had was with dogs. And the littlest dog in Cuba one day jumped up and grabbed me by the knee, grabbed a hold of my kneecap. But we had a dog that lived in the north end of town. His name was Snowball because he was solid white. And Snowball got to the point when in the morning, when my dad would load the milk truck. He'd wake us up at 4 o'clock and he'd go out in a half hour and load the milk truck for the deliveries. Snowball got to the point where he was with us. He'd leave his home up north, come down to our house. We were clear on the south end of Cuba, back by the ballpark where the ball diamonds are. Well, Snowball was, he was about the size of a collie. And we had protection from all dogs from that point in time. And Snowball was one of those old boys that just, he was, I don't know, like a kid, something for him to do. And the guy that owned that dog, he says, why don't you just take that dog and keep him home? I says, I'm not going to feed him. It costs money to feed those dogs. So we had Snowball.
But you had your own guard dog is what it came down to.
Really. This dog, as a matter of fact, he would follow my dad's truck into Putt Creek Bottom. Dad would be going to Fayette, but he had to stop down at the bottom of the hill. And Snowball followed my dad down there one day, and the guy that lived down there at the bottom, he had 2 German Shepherd dogs. And they tore Snowball up, so Snowball's he didn't pass on or anything, but he sure quit running down that hill to be with the milk truck. My dad one time was going to he never had an accident until this day, and he was almost to Smithfield, and a guy pulled out in front of him in a pickup truck, and he run that old panel truck off the road and rolled it over. Never got hurt or anything, but we had enough milk out there to make the world's biggest milkshake. Only accident he ever had. One of the things I remember the most, and probably, most people wouldn't know this, but we had a bakery in Cuba, and, you're out at 4 o'clock in the morning. We'd go over there and we'd stop at the bakery. I'd take 2 quarts of chocolate milk, and I'd come out of there with 2 dozen hot, off-the-press donuts. Day after day after day. They'd get their chocolate milk, and I'd get my donuts.
Fair trade.
Absolutely. I think we got the better deal, though. We used to see. I've got a lot of memories of the milk truck situation. One of the main things we did, we lived in Cuba. Cuba was a coal mining town, and as small towns go, sometimes, guys would work third shift out at the mine, and we'd be driving along 4 o'clock in the morning, dark as the devil. Pretty soon you'd see 3 or 4 guys running out of somebody's house. Now, I don't know what they had in mind. I don't know what they were doing there. Maybe they were carpet cleaners or something. You never know. But it was always strange. But we knew those people, and we knew that, well, now, wait a minute. What's going on here? And I'll let you fill that in yourself.
Leave it to the imagination.
Absolutely. Other times, my brother came back to the truck, and he says, Dad, he says, you're not going to believe what I just saw. Dad says, what? He says, naked lady. Now, I considered Dave the luckiest man in the world when we were 15 years old. He saw a naked lady. I didn't. Memories, a lot of them. And, it's kind of strange. I see people today, not too many, because they got to be a little bit older than I am, to say, I remember you used to deliver milk, put it on the front porch. And these milk boxes, when they came out, were a godsend. We had to put the milk inside. Prior to that, in the wintertime, it would be 5, 10, 15 degrees below zero. You'd set 2 glass bottles of milk on a porch, and you knocked on the door. And you knocked on the door. And you kept knocking till somebody come up and got their milk. If they didn't, you'd drive around the block, come down the other side of the street, milk all over the front porch. They brought these out, and it really made a big difference in that.
But I guess that's the ultimate in customer service. Before you had those boxes, you were going to make sure the customer got the milk taken inside before a bottle did burst.
Absolutely. Yeah, it made a big difference. We'd get to school on time on those days, too. We didn't have to worry about that.
Is there one top memory that you can think of from your family's years of delivering milk?
Let's just say that the thing of it was, you knew everybody in Cuba. You know, and that's a memory. You remember these people, and I used to say, yeah, you always had 2 quarts of chocolate milk, and stuff like that, and that was a good thing. And my dad was a type of person, and if in Cuba, the post office was on the south side of the square, and we'd be clear over on the north side of the square. And if there was somebody over there coming out of the post office that he knew, he'd yell at him. "Hi! Hi!" You know, never failed. That was my dad. You know,
everybody knew the milkman.
Oh my Lord, yes. And like I said, we delivered milk on a wholesale and a retail basis. And we went to Smithfield. We went to Marietta, we went to Fayette, and we had milk customers there, door to door in those towns, and just in that whole area. And it was just a time that I never forget. You know, it's very strange that we provided a service that nobody else did. 99 and 44 100ths of the people who lived in Cuba worked in the coal mine or international harvester. My dad was Cuba, Smithfield, Marietta, and Fayette's milkman.
Did you deliver anything other than milk, such as cottage cheese and that sort of thing?
Oh, yeah. Now, I can remember, a big thing happened. We hired a guy to come down here from Wisconsin. I think it was Wisconsin, one of the northern states. And he started, I think, the cottage cheese coming out of San Sodwheel. And that was Fred Harm's dad. His name was Otto. And I remember him. I had never, if you've never been in a dairy and see how they make cottage cheese, it's worth a trip. If you've never seen that, I'm not going to tell you how it works. We haven't got time. But it was something, as a kid, you sit there and watch that, and just amazing how that happens. Now, one other thing. We not only, I felt like we had a miniature dairy store in our house. San Sodwheel built a cooler in our backyard. Most guys, you know, you got a place to play baseball. I had a cooler in my place. We could go in that cooler when it was 110 in the shade, really cool down. You could stay in there all afternoon. You had a push button. You could go in and out of it and not get hurt. But we had ice cream. We put a big ice cream freezer back in my mom's washroom. And any time, 365 days a year, our dairy store was open. And the ice cream shop, or whatever you want. But it was great as a kid going in there and getting that dreamsicle.
Not a popsicle, a dreamsicle.
Dreamsicle. I knew. We always got all the new stuff. You know, Dave and I were always the best sample people that they made. You know, they'd bring down something. Try that and see what you think. I said, I don't know, there wasn't enough. I may need a little more to see if I can't get, I'll give you a good rating here, but give me enough that I can really give you a good sample on it.
Did you always pay for all that extra stuff?
Well, absolutely. That was, really, I really felt like that money I was paying to the government allowed me a free fudgesicle or a free dreamsicle.
How about we ended on that, a dreamsicle? That, I imagine people who watch this who maybe are up there in years, they're going to remember that word dreamsicle and bring up some memories. So, Ben, thank you very much. It's been enlightening. We could go on for hours like this hearing those stories. But Ben Bishop and his family, Ben now lives in Canton, was in Cuba. That's where he grew up. So that's the history of milk delivery. So it's another added facet of what we have going on here at the Canton Area Heritage Center, is the idea that milk was not only made and obviously made by the cows, but processed and packaged here, but sold by delivery guys like the Bishops.
Oh, one more point I got to bring up. In New York City now, you can get delivery. So we'd have to get up about 3 o'clock to get that baby done.
History repeating itself. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.